On her 30th birthday, Maya realized she'd been playing it safe her entire life. Safe job at her father's accounting firm, crunching numbers in a gray cubicle under fluorescent lights. Safe apartment in a safe neighborhood with beige walls and IKEA furniture that looked like everyone else's. Safe relationship with a safe guy named Daniel who'd probably propose in a safe, predictable way dinner at a nice restaurant, ring in the dessert or some other unoriginal gesture. She wasn't unhappy. That was the worst part. If she'd been miserable, change would be obvious, necessary. But she wasn't miserable. She was just numb, asleep, going through the motions of a life that looked good on paper. Her friends envied her stability. Her parents praised her practicality. Her boyfriend thought they were perfectly suited. Only Maya knew that she felt like a stranger in her own life, watching from outside, unable to feel truly present. That night, alone in her apartment after a birthday dinner, where everyone told her how lucky she was, she opened a bottle of wine. She poured herself a glass, then another, sat on her couch and let herself feel the quiet desperation she'd been pushing down for years. Who was she? What did she want? If she died tomorrow, what would she be remembered for? Being safe, being practical, being someone she barely recognized. Tipsy on birthday wine and existential dread. She grabbed a notebook, one of those fancy leather journals someone had given her that she'd never used. She opened to the first page and wrote at the top, 30 things that scare me. One for each year she'd been alive. One for each year she'd been playing it safe. If fear had been guiding her decisions, defining her boundaries, then maybe facing those fears was the path back to herself, or to whoever she was meant to be. She started writing, stream of consciousness, wine-fueled honesty, no filtering or judgment. Number 1, public speaking. Number 2, quitting my job. Number 3, singing karaoke alone. Number 7, traveling alone. Number 11, confronting my father. Number 19, ending my relationship. Number 23, creating art and showing it to people. Number 27, falling in love with someone dangerous. Number 30, dying without a story worth telling. She filled the page with fears big and small, rational and ridiculous. She looked at the list. Some items were vague, others specific. Some were activities, others were outcomes. But all of them shared one thing. They were the opposite of safe. They required courage, vulnerability, risk. They required her to be visible, exposed, potentially embarrassed or hurt. They required her to live like she meant it. She closed the notebook and went to bed, expecting to wake up hungover and embarrassed by her dramatic midnight journaling. Tomorrow she'd forget about it. But she didn't forget. The next morning, hungover, as predicted, she found the notebook on her coffee table. Read the list again in the harsh light of day. Instead of feeling embarrassed, she felt challenged. What if she actually did these things? Not all of them necessarily, but some. What would happen? Who would she become? The thought terrified her, which probably meant it was exactly what she needed to do. Start small, she told herself. Pick the easiest one. Dip a toe in. Number 3, sing karaoke alone. Not the scariest item on the list, but scary enough. She'd always loved singing in the car, in the shower, alone, where no one could judge her. But the thought of standing on a stage, holding a microphone, vulnerable in front of strangers, her stomach clenched, just thinking about it. Which is why it had to be done. She Googled karaoke bars. Found one that had open mic night on Wednesdays, tonight, before she could talk herself out of it. She almost turned around 3 times on the way there. Almost got back in her car and went home. But she'd told herself she was doing this, and some stubborn part of her, a part she'd forgotten existed, refused to back down. She walked into the bar. It was dingy, smelled like beer and disappointment, with a small stage at the back, and about 20 people scattered around tables. Perfect if she was going to bomb. Better to do it in front of a small crowd. She put her name on the list. Maya, you're up. The DJ called after 3 other singers had gone. Her hands trembled as she walked to the stage. The microphone felt heavy. The spotlight was blinding. She'd chosen Dreams by Fleetwood Mac, a song she knew well, a song she loved. But as the music started, her mind went blank. She fumbled the first verse, voice cracking. Someone in the back laughed. Her face burned. She wanted to run off stage, but she'd committed, so she kept singing. Badly, painfully, honestly. By the second verse, something shifted. She stopped caring about sounding good and just focused on finishing. She made it through the song. The applause was scattered. Polite, pity claps. She walked off stage with shaking legs and went straight to the bar. Ordered a shot, downed it. And then unexpectedly she started laughing. She'd been terrible. Spectacularly, embarrassingly bad. And she was still alive. Walking off that stage, heart pounding, she felt more alive than she had in years. That feeling stayed with her. The rush of doing something scary and surviving. Of being bad at something and not dying of shame. She'd spent so long being competent, professional, good at what she did. But karaoke had been a disaster, and somehow that made it meaningful. She'd faced the fear and come out the other side. 1 down, 29 to go. She looked at the list that night. Number 5, take an improv class. She signed up before she could change her mind. The class started next week. The improv class was terrifying in a different way. Making things up on the spot, being silly, risking looking stupid in front of the same group of people week after week. But everyone else was also risking, also being vulnerable. They failed together, laughed together. She started to understand that failure wasn't fatal. That people were generally too focused on their own fears to judge hers. By the end of the 8-week session, she'd made friends. Real friends, not just acquaintances. Number 11, confronting my father. This one was heavier. Her father, Richard, was a good man, loving in his way, but controlling. He'd expected her to join his firm after college, and she had. Expected her to date someone like Daniel, stable, ambitious, appropriate, and she had. She'd been living the life he'd designed for her, and she'd never questioned it, until now. She invited him to lunch, neutral territory, gathered her courage. "Dad, I'm leaving the firm," she said, then held her breath. She'd expected anger, disappointment. Instead, her father was quiet for a long moment. Then he said, "I've been wondering when you'd tell me." Maya blinked. "You knew." "Of course I knew," he said gently. "You've been miserable for at least 2 years. I kept hoping you'd figure out what you really wanted, but I didn't know how to help without pushing you in a direction that still wasn't yours." She'd underestimated him. She'd been so sure he needed her to be a certain way. "What do you want to do instead?" he asked. She didn't have a clear answer yet. "I don't know exactly, but something creative, something that feels real." He nodded. "Then figure it out. You don't need my permission, but you have my support." She cried in the restaurant parking lot after lunch. Relief, gratitude, grief for all the years she'd spent afraid of disappointing him when he'd been waiting for her to disappoint him. She gave her notice at the firm. 2 weeks later, walked out of the office for the last time. No plan, some savings, and a list of fears left to conquer. Number 13, traveling alone. She'd never been anywhere by herself. Always family trips, group vacations, a boyfriend to plan with. The thought of navigating a foreign country alone terrified her. Language barriers, getting lost, being lonely, but also freedom. Making her own itinerary, answering to no one. She booked a flight to Portugal. Solo travel was transformative. She got lost in Lisbon's winding streets and found amazing restaurants. She sat alone in cafes, journaling, people watching. She took a pottery class where no one spoke English and she had to communicate through gestures and broken Portuguese. She hiked along the coast, ate dinner by herself without feeling self-conscious, made friends with other travelers from around the world. She came home 2 weeks later, feeling like she'd discovered a new self. Over 6 months, she worked through more of the list. Number 14, cut my hair short. She'd had long hair her whole life, terrified of change. Number 17, start a blog, putting her thoughts online for strangers to read. Number 23, create art and show it. She took a painting class and displayed her work at a student showcase. With each conquered fear, something shifted. Not just confidence, identity. She was becoming someone she actually wanted to be. Someone who took risks, who tried things. Number 19, ending my relationship. She'd been avoiding this one. Daniel was a good guy, he loved her. But she didn't love him, not really. She loved the security he represented. The approval. The way their relationship looked from the outside. Inside, she felt nothing. She'd known for years but hadn't wanted to hurt him. Now she realized staying was hurting them both. She was preventing him from finding someone who loved him fully. She owed him the truth. "I'm not in love with you," she said. They were at his apartment, the same place they'd spent countless evenings watching TV, eating takeout, being comfortable. "I don't think I ever was. And you deserve someone who is." Daniel looked shocked, then hurt, then underneath it all maybe a little relieved. "Are you sure?" he asked. "I am," she said. "I'm sorry I didn't figure this out sooner." They cried together. It was sad and necessary. They talked for hours that night, about how they'd settled into the relationship because it was easy, expected. About how neither of them had been truly happy, but neither had been brave enough to say it. "I think I knew," Daniel admitted. "But I kept hoping it would get better, that we'd grow into it." Maya understood. She'd been doing the same thing, waiting for feelings that would never come. They ended things amicably. Friends, maybe, eventually, but not partners. Not anymore. Maya moved into a new apartment, small studio in a neighborhood she'd always loved but thought was too artsy for her. She painted the walls bold colors, deep teal in the bedroom, burnt orange in the main space. Hung art she actually liked instead of neutral prints. Bought furniture from vintage shops instead of IKEA. Created a space that felt like hers. She was 31 now, a year into the courage list. Halfway through, life looked nothing like it had on her 30th birthday. She started working as a freelance graphic designer. It was terrifying, your income, no safety net of a steady paycheck, but also exhilarating. She chose her clients, set her hours, worked on projects that mattered to her. Money was tight sometimes, but she was happier. She could feel the difference in her body, less tension, better sleep, actual excitement about her days. Her mother worried about her lack of stability. Her father was proud. Number 27 arrived unexpectedly, falling in love with someone dangerous. She'd written it thinking of bad boys, rebels, people with motorcycles and tattoos. The kind of men her safe life had taught her to avoid. His name was Jake. They met at an art gallery opening. One of Maya's courage list items was attending cultural events alone. He was standing in front of a massive abstract painting, staring at it with such intensity that Maya was curious. "What do you see?" she asked. He turned to her, and she felt the impact of his attention physically. Dark eyes, messy hair, paint stains on his hands. "Chaos trying to become order," he said. "Or maybe order dissolving into chaos. I can't tell which direction it's going." They stood there discussing the painting, then moved to the next one, and the next. Talked for 2 hours straight. He was an artist, worked from a converted warehouse, made huge abstract pieces that sold for prices that shocked her. "Want to get coffee?" he asked when the gallery was closing. She almost said no. He was intense, unpredictable, the kind of person who felt dangerous not because he was bad but because he was fully alive. He didn't hide behind pleasantries or small talk. He asked real questions and expected real answers. "Yes," she said, thinking of number 27. This was exactly what she'd meant. Not physical danger, but emotional risk. Someone who could actually hurt her because she might actually care. They went to a dive bar instead of a coffee shop. Talked until 3 a.m. He told her about dropping out of art school, living in his car for a year. She told him about the courage list, about systematically dismantling her safe life. "That's terrifying," he said with genuine admiration. "Most people spend their whole lives running toward safety. You're running away from it. Are you dangerous?" she asked, only half joking. "Very," he said, but only to boredom. They started seeing each other. Dating felt like the wrong word, too conventional for whatever this was. They'd meet at odd hours when inspiration or conversation struck. She'd go to his warehouse studio at midnight and watch him paint. He'd show up at her apartment at dawn with coffee and ideas. He challenged her constantly, called her out when she was playing it safe, even in small ways. "Why do you order the same thing you always get?" he'd ask at restaurants. "Try something new. Risk it." He frustrated her, made her uncomfortable, pushed her boundaries in ways that sometimes felt too much. But he also made her feel seen, really seen, for the first time in her life. Not who she was supposed to be, but who she actually was. One night, 3 months in, they were in his studio and he was showing her a new piece. "It's about transformation," he said. About the violence of becoming something new. Why violence? She asked. Because it hurts, he said. Growth hurts. She realized he was right. The courage list had been painful. Every fear conquered came with discomfort, embarrassment, grief for the old version of herself. But that pain meant something was happening. She was changing. She looked at Jake, covered in paint, eyes bright with passion for his work, and felt something crack open in her chest. Terror and exhilaration in equal measure. She was falling for him. Really falling, in a way she'd never fallen for Daniel or anyone else. This was dangerous. She told him 3 months in. They were lying on the floor of his studio, exhausted after helping him hang a show. I'm falling in love with you, she said to the ceiling, and it terrifies me. He was quiet for a moment, then good it should. I'm falling too. He turned to look at her. I'm probably going to hurt you. Not on purpose, but I'm a mess. I get obsessed with work and disappear for days. I'm moody and difficult. I'm not safe, I know, she said. That's what makes it real. He said it back 2 weeks later. They were fighting about something stupid she couldn't even remember what. In the middle of her frustration, he just said, I love you. I'm sorry I'm difficult, but I love you. And just like that, the fight dissolved. She laughed and cried at the same time. I love you too, you impossible person. It wasn't like the movies. It wasn't easy or simple, but it was honest. It was them messy and complicated and real. Number 30 was the hardest. Dying without a story worth telling. How do you face mortality? How do you ensure your life means something? She'd been circling this fear for months, avoiding it. Then she realized she was already doing it. Every fear conquered was a sentence in her story. Every risk was a paragraph. Every moment of courage was a chapter. She wasn't going to die without a story. She was living one, writing it in real time. That was the answer. A year after making the list, Maya threw another birthday party. Not the obligatory dinner with the same people saying the same things, but a real party. Her new apartment, her new friends, artists, writers, travelers, people she'd met through various Courage List adventures. Jake was there, of course, arguing passionately with someone about art. Her father came, charmed by her friends, proud of the transformation. Even her mother, though worried, could see Maya was happier. Someone asked her secret. How had she changed so much in a year? She showed them the list, now coffee-stained and folded, carried in her wallet like a talisman. Make your own, she said. Fear is just a roadmap to who you could become. The things that scare you are the things you need to do. She watched people pull out their phones, starting their own lists. The idea was contagious. Simple but powerful. Face your fears, change your life. It really could be that straightforward. She started a blog about the experience. Not just the Courage List, but the philosophy behind it. How to identify your fears versus your actual values. How to distinguish between healthy caution and limiting yourself. How to start small and build momentum. The blog gained followers. People shared their own Courage Lists, their own transformations. She got messages from around the world, people quitting jobs they hated, ending relationships that weren't working, traveling alone, taking risks. Jake suggested turning her story into a workshop. People need this, he said. They need permission to be brave. You could give them that. She was terrified, naturally. Public speaking was number 1 on her list, and while she'd done a few small presentations, a full workshop felt enormous. That's how you know you should do it, he said, throwing her own philosophy back at her. So she did. Booked a small venue, promoted it on her blog, and hoped someone would show up. 50 people came to the first workshop. 50 strangers who wanted to be braver. She was nervous the entire time, but she pushed through. Shared her story, walked them through creating their own Courage Lists, facilitated discussions about fear and growth. The energy in the room was electric. People crying, laughing, sharing deeply personal fears with strangers who understood. At the end, a woman came up to her. Thank you, she said. I've been stuck for years. Tonight, something shifted. The workshops became regular. Monthly events that filled up weeks in advance. Maya couldn't believe it. People were paying her to help them be brave. It felt like purpose. Like she'd found the thing she was meant to do. Not accounting, not playing it safe. But this. helping others discover their courage. She started writing a book about the experience. Jake painted while she wrote, both of them working side by side in comfortable silence. Creative partners and life partners. They bought the warehouse together. It had been Jake's studio, but they transformed part of it into a workshop space. One side was his art studio, chaos and color and inspiration. The other side was hers, workshop area with chairs in a circle. Whiteboard covered in courage lists, resources and books lining the walls. They lived in the loft above, in a space that was theirs. Not safe, not conventional, but perfect. They hosted art shows and workshops, created a community of creative people. 2 years after the list, Maya looked at it again. She'd completed most items. Some she'd modified not. Every fear needed to be conquered in the exact way she'd imagined. But the spirit was there. She'd transformed her life, become someone she barely recognized from that 30th birthday, when she'd felt so stuck, so numb. You should make a new list, Jake suggested. She laughed. More fears, bigger fears. He said, you're braver now. You can handle bigger challenges. So she did. Started a new list. 31 things that scare me now. The fears were different this time. More ambitious, more specific. Number 1. Publishing my book and letting strangers judge my story. Number 8. Having a child and possibly messing them up. Number 15. Opening a permanent courage center, not just workshops. Number 23. Giving a TED Talk. Number 31. Dying having lived so fully that I have no regrets. These fears felt different, exciting rather than limiting. She was ready. Because that was the secret she'd learned. The best part about conquering your fears isn't the absence of fear. Fear doesn't disappear. You just get braver. You learn to hear fear's voice and do the thing anyway. You learn that discomfort is growth, that risk is how you know you're alive. Maya still kept the original list, framed in their loft. Sometimes Jake would find her staring at it. Proud of yourself, he'd ask. So proud, she'd say.